Hello, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to episode 3 of therapy sessions. I'm very excited. So today's episode is going to be about my most emotional therapy experience. I will preface this by saying what I'm basically going to do is talk about a specific dream that I've had kind of repeatedly through childhood, and then how my therapist helped me work through that dream during a session. As you can tell from the title, I get emotional during the session, and so I don't know if that might be triggering for you if you're watching, so do what you need to do to be safe in the situation. Maybe you're just interested in what a therapy session is like, or maybe you're just here because you want to hear about one of my experiences, and that's cool too. So I think I'll start with an overview of the dream itself, and then why I decided to use that as an example of my vivid dreams in my therapy session. So most of my dreams are actually not repetitive. Usually it's one situation that happens one time, and then I don't usually dream about it again. The themes might come more than one time, but specific dreams only happen once, except for this dream. I had it quite repeatedly when I was younger, and basically it was a dream that I was standing on a beach, and there was a cruise ship that was coming into the water, and one of my relatives, who I won't name but is kind of a distant relative, was standing on the edge of the cruise ship, kind of on the second level there where you might wave to family members as you were coming or going. So she was standing on that platform, kind of waving at me, and it started coming towards the shore. And as it got closer, see the details of it are kind of hazy, but it crashed onto the shore. I remember that part. And the ship was kind of damaged. And for some reason they couldn't get off the ship, so they were in a very unsafe situation. And then another family member who's more closer to me was also in the dream, and he was running towards the ship to try and save them, but my role was a very passive role in the whole thing. I was kind of just watching it until the last scene, and I don't remember whether it was me remembering my body in this role or whether I was watching my male family member in this role. I don't quite remember. I think it was me, but I'm not sure. Was basically so close to the cruise that we got stuck, and so me or his body was stuck underneath the cruise, and the cruise was like pushing down on our chests, and we couldn't escape. Quite traumatizing of a dream, as I'm sure you can tell, because family members were involved. There is an element of being passive, and then an element of being like very active and involved, and then not being able to escape. And so I'd actually forgotten about the dream until I got into my therapy session, and she was asking me for an example of my dreams, and then that one came up. So this story happened with therapist number 1, who you might remember is the one that does art therapy. She first got me to kind of close my eyes, sit on the chair, and visualize the dream. So you kind of remember it and walk her through it in more detail with your eyes closed to kind of get yourself into that space. But she was realizing, and I was also realizing, that I was having trouble kind of breaking through the barrier of thinking about the dream in more of a deeper perspective, and I was just kind of like saying the words without really feeling the emotion of the dream. So then she asked if I was okay acting it out. So I wasn't sure what that entailed. I think at this point it was only my second or third therapy session, so I was still quite new to therapy overall, but I was like, yes, trusting the process, let's do whatever she wants to see if it will help. So what she got me to do was lie on the ground on a yoga mat. And the first thing she did was just to get me to lie on the yoga mat and then again visualize me being in that space. So she would get me to explain the dream again, but this time I'm lying on the ground and I'm feeling a bit more physically connected to the verbal words that I'm speaking about the dream. So from then, for me lying on the ground, then she asked me if we're okay ramping it up a little bit more. And so what she did was take a pillow and put it on my chest, and she would basically put small amounts of pressure onto my chest as I was lying on my back to simulate the cruise ship weighing down on me and holding me in place. At that point, I was already feeling a little bit emotional because it's like you spend years having these very vivid dreams in your mind, but you wake up in the morning and quite often forget about them unless they're brought into your mind because you see something during the day. And so for the most part, I was able to kind of separate myself from what was happening at nighttime. So I'm sure you can imagine that being there, acting out, and physically feeling the pressure on your chest is quite an emotional process. And so I remember already feeling a little bit emotional, like the tears were welling a little bit, you know, like, ooh, okay, this is happening, we're really acting this out right now. So then she started to amplify it again until she had her hands on the cushion again and was starting to rock it back and forth. And that was to simulate the waves that were kind of crashing on my chest, on my chest and against the cruise ship. Again, through all of this, I was having a very passive role in it, and then she got me to have a more active role. She said, I want you to, when I rock back and forth, for you to wiggle yourself free from the confines of the cushion. So we would rock back and forth like 3 or 4 times, and then I would kind of violently, I guess, like jerk my body away so that I was escaping from the cushion. And then this was like the climax, final scene of my dream. Big lead up. So what she got me to do was to lay there with the cushion on my chest, rock back and forth, escape, but then this time, instead of just escaping to the side of the yoga mat, to actually get up and walk away. So knowing that experience was going to come, the tears started welling more, and I was like really emotionally preparing myself for what I imagined would be a very emotional experience, and it was. I got up from that cushion experience and walked away from the yoga mat. It was only maybe 5 paces towards the door, but at that point, by the time I walked 5 steps and turned around, I was bawling, which I didn't expect it to be that emotional, but it was, yeah, I was actually quite surprised, and also felt like a weight had kind of been lifted from my chest, because it felt like, okay, yeah, you usually forget about your dreams. Let's remember your dream, explain the dream in vivid detail to someone who you don't know that well, and I've never really explained that dream in that much detail to anyone before. Acting it out, feeling the physical pressure, and then walking away from it. And it was the walking away part that really felt like, yeah, there was like a period of my life, or there's an element of my life of these negative dreams that I don't like, and I'm like rejecting it. I'm experiencing it and like showing appreciation for whatever reason it came into my life, but also I want to leave. Like, I'm making an active decision to leave this space, to leave it behind, to start anew, to try again, you know, chapter 2, let's start a new chapter without all of this anxiety in my life. Anxiety about the dreams itself, and then just anxiety in general. And so it was, yeah, it was emotional, to say the least. And then that kind of ended that session. She got me to do an exercise, which maybe I'll share with you to see if it's helpful in your life. But what she got me to do, I don't know if you can see my knees, but she got me to like tap the edges of my knee repeatedly to kind of a pattern like this, and then repeat the words "I am safe," repeated for a few moments until I felt like it was enough. And that again really helped to center me, kind of calm me down so that we could continue the session. So that was my most emotional experience in therapy. It was not the last time that I've cried in therapy, but it was my first time. Therapy is very different. Again, this is art therapy, so if that's something that you're interested in, you can specifically ask for that kind of therapy. If not, there are tons of therapists that do mostly only verbal, and so if you don't want to things out or draw things out, then that's also an option that you can request. Yeah, I hope it was an interesting insight into what a session might look like or what an art therapy activity might look like. Again, different for every person, depending on who your therapist is, depending on who you are, and depending on what you wanted to do. Because at any time I could have said, stop, you know, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm not comfortable, and that would have totally been okay as well. So it's just about, you know, being a good advocate for yourself and what you need. So thanks as always for watching, and talk to you next week.